So, somewhere along the way, you were told that the price of advancement was becoming someone you don't recognize. You needed to speak up more, you needed to be more visible, or you needed to get comfortable with self promotion, or just adapt to the culture. And you have tried. You have really tried. I have seen you do it. You were the one to speak first in meetings when you had nothing to say. You performed like you were enthusiastic when actually you wasn't even feeling it in the room. And you code switched so hard, you forgot which version of you was the original. And maybe it worked. Maybe you got the role or the title or the seat at the table. But here's what nobody told you: that strategy has a cost, and the cost is you. Today, we're talking about the lie of self abandonment as a career strategy, where it comes from, why it's so seductive, and what it's actually costing you. Now, here is what I really need you to understand. First, corporations have tricked us into believing that we are not enough. As women of color, we have learned that we're not enough the way we are, not the way we speak, not the way we talk, not the way we wear our hair, not the clothes we wear, not how we show up in meetings. We're just not enough. And our organizations, the systems that we are in, have created this standard, and they have convinced us that their standard is the only standard or the only right way to be a leader. But here's the thing that I want you to know: the standard wasn't designed with you in mind. It was designed by and for people who don't look like you, who don't even lead like you. And instead of saying that out loud, they coded in language that sounds like some type of feedback that we need to take. They'll say things like, you need more executive presence, or you should speak up more in meetings, or you need to build a personal brand that people recognize and feel, or you're too intense, too quiet, too direct, not direct enough. Notice how you can't win, whether you're introverted or extroverted. It's like nothing is working out for you. It's all not enough. Well, there's so much of too much of this and not enough that the target keeps moving because you were never the target audience to begin with. So, what do? I have seen too many women of color start to shrink just so that they can survive, or they love to drink that corporate Kool-Aid like it's some kind of superhero potion. You know, those cartoons when the character drinks some like magic formula and then suddenly they're transformed? Think of people like Popeyes. If you're old enough to know about Popeye, he had this spinach and he would eat spinach and one gulp of the spinach and suddenly he's super powerful. That's what we've been told. We've been told that if we adopt these behaviors, if we drink that corporate Kool-Aid or just perform this version of leadership, that you'll be powerful too. But what I want you to know is that Popeye was already strong. The spinach was a gimmick. He got tricked. And so is the Kool-Aid that they're serving you. So I want you to know that they didn't build the standard for you. And now you're probably getting penalized because you're not fitting into this standard that they have created. Now, I am not here to shame you for buying into this. You bought into it because it looked like it worked. You watch people get promoted, you watch people get recognized. And from where you were standing, it looked like they got there by playing this game. So you thought, okay, if I just perform like that, I'm going to advance. I'm going to make more money. I'll finally get the recognition that I deserve. And y'all, maybe you did. Maybe you did. Maybe the performance actually got you somewhere. But here's what I believe: performance at one level sets you up to stall at the next. Because here's what's happening: you perform your way into a role. Now you're in a bigger room with higher stakes. And guess what? The performance has to get bigger too. So you have to be more visible. There's more politics to play. There's more code switching. And the impact of that is more exhaustion. You did not get promoted into freedom. You got promoted into a bigger cage. I'll say that again. You didn't get promoted into freedom. You got promoted into a bigger cage. There's this concept called the Peter Principle. It says that people in organizations tend to rise to the level of their incompetence. Basically, you keep getting promoted based on how well you perform in your current role until you land into a role that you're not actually equipped for. And then you end up stalling. But here's my twist on it. When you've performed a version of leadership that isn't yours, you don't just rise to the level of your incompetence, you rise to the level of inauthenticity. You're not being authentic at all. And you hit a ceiling not because you're not capable, but because the performance can't scale. And now you're stuck in a role that requires more performance with even less of yourself to give. Now, let's talk about what this is actually costing you because it's not free. It never was free. It is literally costing so many of my clients their sanity. You're replaying conversations in your head at 11 o'clock at night. You're sitting in your bed, you're laying in your bed, you're with your partner, you're with yourself, and you're like, Should I have said that differently? Did I say that wrong? Did I come across wrong? Or did I talk too much or not enough?" And there's all these mental gymnastics that just never stop, and you're exhausted before you even get to the actual work on the next day. I know a lot of you are just tired, mentally tired. And that mental tiredness is affecting how your physical health is. And that leads me to the next point is it's costing you your health. The tension in your shoulders, they never go away. You're always like, I have this stuff that I get from this place called Sage, SAGE, SAJE. And they have like this menthol inside of it, and I'll just put it on my shoulders, on my back. It's like the best thing ever. It's kind of like an icy hot, but it's supposed to be all natural ingredients. It's so good. And when you are dealing with stress from your job every single day, you want to rub that stuff on you because your shoulders are just too tense. Or there's a knot in your stomach on Sunday night because you know you're gonna have to walk into that organization the next day. And so for you, you're like, "Oh god, not another week. Oh my god, the weekend went by too fast." And then you are dreading walking into meetings. You're dreading having to deal with this particular person. This is costing you your health. When you are inauthentic, it's more energetically draining. And this is why I always say that self-abandonment, when you abandon yourself and who you are, it doesn't just live in your mind, it lives in your body too. And if you're always being exhausted and you're tense and your mind is just racing, now you're burning out. But here's the thing, you're not burnt out from the work, you're burnt out from the performance. The job itself might be fine. It might be the organization you wanna be in, it might be the role you wanna be in, you may be super aligned to the mission of the organization, but you're constantly shape shifting and that's draining you. Like I just said, like that performance takes a toll on you. Inauthenticity is literally taking so much from you. It's like when somebody tells a lie and then they have to continue the lie because if they don't continue the lie, then people are going to know it's a lie. It's the same thing with shape shifting or trying to be somebody else that you're not. Once you start shape shifting, you have to stay with it. You have to keep going. You have to if you stop, people are like, well, who is this new person? You're not yourself when actually you're being yourself now because you can't keep up with it. And so that will burn you out. And ironically, all of this is costing you your career. So you may think the fake it till you make it or, do what you have to do in order to fit in, but it's costing you your career. Because once again, that Peter principle that I just spoke about, but also when you're spending all your energy managing how you're perceived, you literally don't have the capacity for the deep work that actually sets you apart. You actually don't have the capacity to brainstorm and to be creative and to be innovative because you're so focused on fitting in that you stop standing out. The very thing that you're doing to advance is the thing that's actually holding you back. And here's something nobody tells you. You think you're pulling it off. You think that you're getting away with it. You think that nobody knows. But just like I tell my kids and that my mom used to tell me, like, "You're not fooling nobody. I was born at night, but not last night." People can feel it. They can feel when you've been treating yourself like you're not enough. They can feel when you're shrinking or you're masking or you're abandoning who you really are. You think nobody notices, but the energy does not lie. When you're performing, there is a disconnect. There's going to be something that's going to feel off. And even if no one can name it, because you're saying the right words, but when you say those right words, there's no weight behind them. There's no conviction. There's no like, I believe this. I'm standing on this. It feels kind of empty. And people can feel that. You're constantly showing up, but you're not fully there. Have any of you ever felt that? Like you're talking to someone and you're like, hey, are you there? Are you still there? Like you're talking, but what's going on? I know, like, sometimes when I watch these little, like, quirky shows, TV shows, I remember Family Matters, if you're old enough to know Family Matters. And I remember, like, Laura or Steve Urkel, they would sit and they would be, like, kinda daydreaming and looking to the side, and they would be thinking that somebody be like, "Hello, hello, Laura, Laura," or "Steve, Steve," and nobody like, they were like, "You're here, but you're not here." That's what it feels like when you walk in and you're being inauthentic, when you're being fake, when you're trying to have a mask on. You're performing a show, but you're not really genuine to who you are. People can feel it. And although they might not be able to articulate it, they can sense it. And you start getting people talking in the background of, I don't quite trust her, or something about her feels guarded. She's competent, but I don't feel like I know her. Before I keep going, I want to pause for just a moment. This episode is brought to you by my one on one leadership coaching for introverted women of color who are doing their best work but feel stuck when it comes to career growth, influence, and positioning. This isn't about motivation or productivity. It's about learning how to name where you want your career to go, understanding how leadership decisions actually get made, and positioning yourself for opportunities without becoming someone you are not. I work closely with a small number of clients at a time so we can focus on your relationships, your leadership identity, and the systems shaping your career trajectory. You can learn more about working with me one-on-one by checking the link in the show notes. And let's get back to the episode. Now, here's what I want to say about this. As women of color, especially Black women, sometimes we do put up our guard. But usually, typically, because this is how I would put up my guard, but I wasn't trying to fake like I was anybody else. There are some people who will do the whole masquerade, and I've looked at coworkers before and look like, who is this person when they get in front of somebody else? I'm like, oh my God, like, who are you? Like, that was different. That's what I mean. Like they guard who they are to become somebody they are not. I don't mean guarded as like keeping your head on the swivel and making sure you're protected and you're safe. I mean like you're performing at the same time that you're guarding something that you don't know want anybody else to know. The irony about all of this is that the mask that you're wearing, you want it to be accepted. And you want people to be like, okay, I like her. Like, oh my gosh, she's a great person. But this is the very thing that keeps people from actually connecting with you. And if you know anything about leadership, leadership is connection. If you're not connecting with others, you've already lost them. They're not gonna follow you. They're not gonna see you as a person of influence. They're not gonna follow you on your path or your mission or your vision. And so you have to be able to connect with people, but you can't connect with people genuinely if you're trying to be somebody else that you are not. So what I see is that, many clients that I work with, they're working hard to be seen as a leader, but the real person that they are, the one who is actually a leader, is hiding behind the performance because, again, our organizations has tricked us by telling us we need more executive presence or we need less aggressiveness. That's the word that they kind of use inside of our organizations. And so we get caught in this. Now, one thing about energy, because I mentioned this a little bit, is like people can feel it. What I want you to know is that energy attracts energy. So when you show up and you're shrunk, you're going to attract the people and the opportunities that match that energy. They're going to be the people that are scared and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And you all are sitting there just like, oh, I don't know what to do and I don't know what's going on. But when you show up anchored, when you're fully in your body, when you have conviction, when people know that it's you, when you're fully in your voice, when you're using your voice the potential that it has, and you know your worth, you attract something different. There's a reason why people are attracted to people like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or other people that you see on TV or your influencers that you may follow or the other coaches or leaders that you follow. There's an energetic attraction when people are like, "Oh my god, what is she doing to get to where she is at in her life? What's her success story? What's his success story?" There's a reason because their energy is attractive. When you're walking down the street, for all my single people, when you're walking down the street and you see somebody and they're walking and they put their hair down and they're just walking by, you probably aren't gonna notice them. They look like they're not confident. You don't find them attractive. But have you ever seen, like, you're on Instagram or any social media channels, TikTok, whatever, and those are those videos where somebody's walking and they slow the video down and they're just confident and the body is just nice and right, and you're like, "Ooh." You see the other person walk by like, "Ooh, I'm attracted to that person because there's a presence. There's a confidence that's happening. It's not them performing, because I've also saw people who try to do that, but they're just not into it. You can tell they're not into their body, and that moves people further away from them. You want people to move towards you. You want people to be attracted to you, but they can only be attracted to the real you. When you want to be fully present, you have to actually be there. You can't be anyone else because energy doesn't lie. People can feel when you are not fully there. So here's what I want you to walk away with today. Here is the shift that I want you to take and I want you to think about. You can absolutely be yourself at work every single day. You do not have to be someone else to succeed. In fact, becoming someone else is the very thing that's going to slow you down. So the things you've been hiding, like your quietness, your introversion, how you go into real deep into depth. I know I'm like that. I like to go deep on a lot of different things. Some people like it, some people don't. Or the way you think before you speak, or the way you build trust slowly and deeply. Like you don't just automatically say, "Oh yeah, I trust you." Like you really want to engage with the person and build that trust. Or the way you lead without needing to be the loudest in the room. I want you to know that those are not liabilities. Those are not things you kind of sweep under the rug and hope nobody sees them while you're out here performing extroversion as if that is the thing that is going to get you to your next level. It may get you to your next level, but you will not be sustainable. It will not sustain you at that level. You will hit your limit of incompetence, similar to what exactly what the Peter principle says happens to many of us. So I want you to know those things are your advantages. And sometimes we have to do a little bit more of like, hey, I'm introverted. So I'm sitting here and I'm going to be thinking, I may not speak up as much. The one thing that helps you with all of this is transparency and just sharing, this is who I am, so that you don't have to pretend that you're not that thing. You actually just show up in that way. You have been told that all of these things are problems that you need to fix, but I'm telling you today that these are strategies that you can actually leverage. Here's what I want you to imagine. You're walking into a room where you're underestimated. People don't think you have all the skills or you're going to be able to do it. And maybe you're the only woman of color. Maybe you are going to be the quietest person in the room. And instead of shrinking, instead of performing, you start to think to yourself, they have no idea what I'm capable of. And I'm not going to tell them. I am going to show them. That's not you being arrogant. That's you being fully bought into who you are. That's you being fully in your body. That's being anchored. That's being confident. If there's any doubt in the room, that belongs to them. But you are certain that this is who you are and this is a strength. This is something to leverage in the room. This is an example of what it looks like to lead beyond the title. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to perform just so you're approved. You can show up as yourself fully, unapologetically, and letting that be enough. You were never the problem. The way you lead is never the problem. The standard, the system, the way things were set up is the problem. And the most powerful thing you can do is to stop abandoning yourself to meet a standard that was never designed for you. I am through my coach training, I've learned nobody needs to be fixed. We are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. That is a phrase from the Coactive Institute, the coach training that I took. We don't need to fix anything. The other thing is, you don't need more executive presence. And you, for sure, don't need to drink the corporate Kool Aid. You need to come home to yourself, to learn who you are, and to be fully bought in and believe that that is enough. And then you can start leading from there. So here's what I want you to sit with this week. Where are you abandoning yourself and calling it a strategy? Because we sometimes think like I'm being strategic by not saying the thing that I need to say, or I'm being strategic by just sitting back and listening. But what would it look like for you to stop doing that? And I don't mean to blow up your career. I don't mean stop being thoughtful and intentional. But what if you ask yourself, what if I could advance and stay loyal to who I am? Because it's not a fantasy. It's the work that we have to do as women of color. It's the work that we have to explore and think about and go deep on, and to really say, how can I show up fully who I am so that I'm not burned out, so that I'm not exhausted, so that my health isn't taking a toll? What is that work that I need to do? Okay. So sit with that today and sit with that this week and figure out what that is for you. Now, if this episode resonated, I want you to share with another introverted woman of color who needs to hear it. You can screenshot it, you can send it to her, you can tell her this one is for you. And if you want to go deeper, and if you're ready to stop performing and start leading as yourself, please join me in my one-on-one leadership coaching program. I would love to have you. I would love to start to work on showing up fully, authentically yourself, where you're walking a room and you know, I got this. This is who I am. I'm going to go home and I'm going to feel energized and I'm not going to feel exhausted. And as always, think to yourself, what does leadership beyond the title actually look like for you? I'll see you next week. Bye.